Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a Books Beside My Bed video for you where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. This unintentionally turned into a week where I read a ton of Tal Bauer's backlist because I clearly needed comfort reads and that's what his books are for me at the moment. So this is my reading week from the 4th until the 10th of March. I read a total of 12 things this week, but I'm talking about 8 in this video. Sometimes my math doesn't math properly. 2 of the books that I read are for the secret project vlog that is coming out this week, I think. So that's exciting. But yeah, the rest of them I'm going to talk about now. I had one DNF this week and that was What Happens on Tour by Luci. This is an Australian contemporary rock style romance. I read the first 60 pages and I just was not getting into it. It was very dialogue heavy, which I don't normally mind, but also it just felt like every little thing was being discussed and I needed it to move faster and it just wasn't happening for me. So I don't know if this is a full DNF or if it is I'm putting down and I may come back to it when I feel like reading something this big that moves quite slowly. Anyway, I started it and decided not to continue. I did pick it up for a members reading vlog that is coming out this week as well. So members, you'll get to hear all the reasons why I stopped reading it in that video. I also reread In a Jam by Kate Canterbary. I've sort of been rereading this for about a month on audio and it's been my listening read when I have been doing my diamond painting because I've started a new one. It's a wolf portrait that came in my TJ Kulin wolf song box and it was just as amazing this time through as it was when I was reading it the first time. It is fun and hilarious. It's a contemporary small town romance between 2 people who knew each other in high school and then went their separate ways, and suddenly the heroine Shay is back in town and she ends up in a marriage of convenience with the hero, and he's the guardian of his niece and he runs this farm. The whole thing is just delightful. I have talked about this nonstop for months and the audio is just delightful. The narrators are Jason Clark and Kit Swan and they were just phenomenal. All right, then I read Naughty or Ice by Sylvia. This is a contemporary hockey romance. As I've said many times, I'm in my hockey romance phase, so I'm basically trying anything. Like I literally have a stack of hockey romances. I'm honestly feeling like I'm just gonna do a hockey romance week and see if that gets it out of my system. Not entirely sure that it will, but you know what? That may happen sometime in the near future. This is a romance between an injured NHL player who is trying to get back up to form so that he can continue to play, and the woman who is brought in to train him how to skate more efficiently. She is a former championship figure skater and they have great chemistry on and off the ice, but initially there's some animosity because he is very grumpy because he is injured and he's not getting better as fast as he would like, and she just really doesn't want to put up with his BS while she's training him. She's also a single mum. It's very sweet, very steamy, just very enjoyable. Then I read Booty Call by Ainsley. This is one of the physical books on my TBR. Clearly, I have a physical copy of it. And it was also one of the 5 books that I picked off my TBR to read for the month. This is a steamy contemporary romance. It's fairly quick and easy to read. It is an age gap romance between Alison, who comes from a wealthy family, and Scott, who is a former Navy SEAL turned security / bodyguard expert, and he was formerly her older sister's bodyguard. For ages they sort of just tried to ignore their attraction to one another, and then in this book they explore what that relationship could possibly look like. I want to say it's like a 14-year age gap. She is 20 and he is in his early to mid 30s for memory, and like it was totally fine, but also there were things that happened in the book that really felt like it was purely the fact that Ali was young and didn't have heaps of life experience comparatively that caused a lot of friction and conflict and lack of communication. So while it was fun, there were also just some things I was like, okay, I don't really need to read that. So I'm glad that I read it, but I don't know if I would continue reading this author if those things are repeated in other books. I also read Ache by Marley Valentine. This is the special foiled edition from Books Ever After here in Australia, which is a romance bookstore in New South Wales. This book I had on my radar because Robyn from Paperbacks and Planners had mentioned it to me. It is an contemporary romance. This book has a lot of things in it that I don't typically read, particularly the fact that it is a cheating romance. So this is an romance. The 2 heroes in this book are best friends and have been best friends for years. And Jordan has been in love with Gail forever. And Gail is engaged to be married to a woman. And at the very start of this book, Jordan has organised for a bucks weekend away for Gail and their friends. And their feelings for one another come out while they're in Vegas. And their relationship is hot and heavy, and you can tell that these 2 have real feelings for one another. And there is a lot of guilt around the fact that they're cheating, but also the fact that they have tried to ignore their feelings for so long. And then something happens and one of them is injured, and there is a bit of an amnesia subplot in here, which again is not always my favorite thing, but was fairly well done in this book because I think you get how hard it is for not only the person who can't remember anything, but for everyone around them. And in the midst of all of this, the fact that Justin and Gail cheated on Gail's fiance, and the fact that Gail has been in love with Jordan for a really long time, all of that comes out, but one of them doesn't remember the events leading up to it. It was very emotional to read, and like I shouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did because it has so many things that I'm just like, I don't like reading that, but it was really well done. I didn't realize that Marley Valentine was an Australian author, and I actually have been talking to her on TikTok. We've been talking about Tal Bauer books, which I'll explain in a moment. That gave me the push to pick up the book, and I'm glad that I did because I think it's a really interesting story. I'm intrigued to continue reading more Marley Valentine books, and she has both MM and MF romances, so I'm eager to try some of each, and hopefully I'll get a chance to say hello to her when I go to Rare. I should say this is a signed copy from the bookstore because I think she was there for the launch weekend. And then came my stack of Tal Bauer reads this week because, comfort read author. I really appreciate his writing style. I know exactly what I'm going to get from his books. Mostly that his romantic suspense books are going to be really fast-paced and very intriguing, and his contemporary romances are probably going to make me cry. And that's where we are with that. The first one that I read this week was Hell and Gone. This is a small town MM romance with romantic suspense elements in it. And it is about a stock detective, Everett, who is sent to this town when a cowboy is found hanged. And there's been a whole lot of things going on. 2 other cowboys have gone missing. There's a whole lot of stock that has gone missing. And the town sheriff department just is not coping with it. And so Everett's sent into town, and there he ends up meeting the local bad boy of the town, Lawrence. And the two end up teaming up to try and uncover what's going on, because so far that it seems like they're the only two actually investigating what's going on. There's a real sense of isolation in here because this is such a remote area. The ranches that make up this part of the area are vast, and you can go for miles without seeing anyone. There's also a sense of like claustrophobia despite the isolation, because you get the feeling that the people in the town know what's going on but are not saying anything, and that's bloody creepy. So yes, this was really fun to read, but I always forget to do my content warnings. So content warnings for murder, violence, gun violence, knives, mentions of being a soldier and being through war, and also death of parents, historically off page. I also read another romantic suspense. This is The Night Of. This is another President of the United States / Secret Service agent MM romance. And in this instance, the President of the United States is killed one night and the Vice President has to step up. And Secret Service agent Sean Avery is called in by the Vice President to investigate the death. The complication in here is that Sean and the Vice President, now President, are ex-partners. And we know that something complicated happened and they cut off their relationship, but now they're forced to work together and to confront the fact that someone is targeting the leader of the US, and as Sean gets closer to uncovering who that is, they both end up in more and more danger. Very suspenseful, very entertaining. I actually really liked the way that these two resolved their relationship issues and have to deal with everything that they've been through and have to confront their feelings, because that's always fun. This one, violent death, gun violence, etc. I will also say there's a very detailed description of an autopsy scene in here, so not for the faint of heart. It was pretty gross. And as I said earlier, I was talking to Marley Valentine about Tal Bauer books on TikTok because I'm trying this month to film really short, sort of 1.5 minute reviews of books that I'm reading face to face on TikTok. I don't normally do that. I don't normally show my face over there, but that is my goal this month, and I'm just trying to see if it's a medium that I even enjoy doing that. So far it's been okay, and honestly mostly I'm doing it because I'm sick of seeing only fantasy romances or problematic contemporary romance authors being recommended in reviews. So I just want to put some other things out there. Anyway, when I was talking to Marley Valentine, I did ask her what her favourite Tal Bauer book was, and she told me her favourite romantic suspense and contemporary romance by him, and her favourite romantic suspense was Never Stay Gone. And I happen to have a copy of it because I am now just collecting his books. So I decided to read it. Look, if someone's going to go out of their way to give me a book recommendation, specifically because we're having a conversation about a favourite author, I'm going to pick it up pretty quickly. So this is about a Texas Ranger, Dakota Jennings, who is sent back to the small town where he finished up high school. And he's sent there because the sheriff department has uncovered the bodies of 6 women buried in a grave in the desert. And when he gets there, he finds out that the deputy sheriff who found the bodies is none other than his ex-boyfriend, Shane, who was supposed to go on and become a very famous football player, but he blew out his knee and that ended his career. And now he's stuck in this small town which he was trying to escape, and is working as a deputy sheriff, and he's got a lot of hang-ups around that and feeling like a failure and really distrusts his own judgment. And then he and Dakota are forced to work together and spend more time together, despite the fact that they both broke each other's hearts. And as they begin to sort of rehash their past and figure out their feelings for one another and acknowledge that, you know, they still love one another, life happened. They get caught up in sort of this hunt for a serial killer who ends up turning his sights on the two of them as they get closer and closer to figuring out exactly what's going on. This is romantic suspense, part politically motivated. It is just very cool because you get this sense of being in this small town in the middle of nowhere and everyone's got eyes on what's going on. It's just really well done. Again, for this, content warnings, violence, death, gun violence, violence towards women. One of the women who is killed is pregnant, so there is mention of death of mother and child, so be aware of that going into the book. And then for the same members reading vlog that I was attempting to read What Goes On to Her, I also read The Jock by Tal Bauer. This is a contemporary football romance. It is set during college and you have Wes, who is tipped to be the next great footballer. And at the beginning of the book, he spends 3 weeks abroad in Paris studying, and there he meets Justin, who is a fellow student from the same college. Wes is studying public health, Justin is studying nursing, and they both study French, and that's why they're overseas. And they end up rooming together for the 3 weeks, and they become really good friends, and then they also realize that they have feelings for one another. Both characters are gay. Justin is out. Wes is not, because to his mind, if he comes out, it ruins the dynamic of the team that he plays with, and he doesn't want to be the person responsible for that, and that is a big thread through this story. When they end up coming back to Texas, Wes inevitably breaks off the relationship because he is spooked by something that his coach says to him, and he doesn't want to let anyone down, and so he figures it's better to let Justin have his own life. He doesn't do it in the best way and does have to grovel a little bit, but he's so scared of letting people down that he basically cuts himself off from everything that makes him happy. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was very cleverly done. It is very emotional and hard-hitting. There are a lot of homophobic comments directed towards characters in this book, as well as a violent attack on one of the characters as a result of homophobia. So be aware of that going into it, because that was quite hard to read. One of the characters ends up in hospital, but it does force a lot of the other characters to really think about their reactions to everything and how it came out. And not a single person in here is a perfect character. They all make mistakes and they all have to deal with the consequences of that. And I very much appreciated it. I loved Wes and Justin. I thought Justin was a great character. Not only is he studying nursing, he's also exploring his love of dancing. So I think he was saying he did modern dance, but he's also encouraged by Wes to pursue his interest in ballet. Their relationship when they're on is just so sweet and wholesome. And I should say the breakup happens in the breakup and the makeup for that happens in the first half of the book, not in the third act, which again, like I don't always need dramatic breakups, but I appreciate that it's not the penultimate sort of thing at the end. I am very interested to read the follow-up to this, The Quarterback, because I know that it is Wes's best friend and Justin's dad, and I'm very intrigued by that. So yes, those are the books that I have read this week. In the comments, I'd love to know if you have read any of them or if you're planning on picking them up. I'm really sorry. You guys are probably going to hear about more Tal Bauer books in the very near future because I'm on a roll. I will try and read other things. If you've been reading other things that you're really enjoying, I would love to hear about them. If you want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave a football emoji down below. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.